A long time ago, Disney Channel used to be great. It had the perfect balance between cartoon shows and live action shows, and even sitcoms, which were awesome. But just like with Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, somewhere along the line they lost the plot. But they lost it a lot quicker than the others. Now you see what I meant when I said they lost it real quick. But like I said in the beginning, it's kind of crazy to remember that Disney Channel used to be great once upon a time, way back in the day. I would say that out of all the other channels like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, that Disney Channel had the easiest transition from the 90s into the 2000s because they were able to balance out their sitcoms and their cartoons well. The sitcoms didn't take too much time away from the cartoons, and the cartoons didn't take too much time away from the sitcoms. It was a perfect balance, and for a while it seemed like Disney Channel actually had their shit together. It actually seemed like they found the perfect formula that Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon could never get right. And especially in my opinion, a couple of Disney Channel's old shows were really ahead of its time. Like House of Mouse would be one of the most popular shows today in my opinion. A show where literally all your favorite characters from all your favorite movies and TV shows all get around and basically an award show, but for cartoons with the actual cartoon characters talking and interacting with each other. It was a great concept, which I'm mad they don't do more often, especially now, because I feel like people would really love this type of show. And speaking of their cartoons, as a kid, the lineup was basically perfect. You had stuff like Buzz Lightyear and Star Command, which I always felt was a great change of pace because you never really saw like sort of action centric shows on like the actual Disney Channel itself. It was always kind of catered more toward their side channels like JetX or later down the line like Disney XD and stuff like that. But I always love seeing stuff like that on the actual channel instead of just on the side channel where you most of the time missed it. Even the shows they had for Disney Junior were great. Like Roller Polio is a great example of a kids show that like other people can watch that aren't just like little kids and babies and shit. Like Roller Polio was a great show. It was just a great show you could just watch and just put on the background, just kind of vibe to. And probably the only educational show that I ever actually liked to watch was Stanley, where they would teach you about like different zoo animals and like different species of like fish and frogs and all that type of shit. I love watching Stanley. It was one of them educational shows that wasn't just like spoon fed you. It was like an actual good show while also teaching you shit about like animals and everything. Now, don't get me wrong. When Disney Channel hit their prime, they really hit their prime. Back-to-back shows were great. Kim Possible was great. The movie, live action, nah, not really. It wasn't really that good. But Kim Possible was great. The American Dragon Jake Long was great. Disney Channel really seemed like that they hit their prime of making great shows. And like I said before with Buzz Lightyear and Star Command, a lot of these shows were action centric and were actually on Disney's main channel and not on Disney XD or Jetix like they normally do with their action shows. Numerous seasons and actually had their finales and didn't get canceled, which is something that you actually saw a lot with Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, which they would have a good show but it would get canceled. A Forgotten Gem, which I don't think nobody really remembers, is the Oban Star Racers. I love it. I wish we would have more racing animes type cartoons like this in general. But Oban Star Racers is another Forgotten Gem that was on JetX.
Check me out. Cool.
Check me out.
Holla, holla, put your hands up. Everybody.
And none of that shit lasted long at all. Now Disney Channel, just like everybody else, had their prime, but Disney Channel had a really weird way of basically falling off quicker than anybody else could have ever fucking imagined. But they also, they were able to sprinkle in a few good shows here and there to keep you watching, like Good Luck Charlie and Wizards of Waverly Place. But that was like 0.0001% of the fucking channel. For every one of Good Luck Charlie, there was a DuckTales remake. Yep, you heard me right. They remade DuckTales. A dog with a blog. What? A dog with a blog. What? It was about a dog who writes blogs and can talk. Yeah, you could tell they were just running out of ideas at this point. Out of any of the other channels that I've covered so far, I can say that Disney Channel fell off the hardest out of the three. Because at least with Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, their fall off was gradual, but with Disney's, it was just they were going up, then they fell straight off a fucking cliff, and they could never recover from it. But just like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, they did have a few outliers, which were great shows, but were overshadowed by everything else that wasn't great. Gravity Falls being the biggest example of this, it was a great show, but it was the only good show on the entire channel. Now, what I'm not going to sit up here and do is act like Disney Channel is the most creative company that we've ever seen. Even back in, the 90s and early to sort of mid 2000s, when they were kind of on a roll with their Disney Channel original movies, which were basically movies that were, made with, produced by Disney Channel and made by Disney Channel themselves. As a kid, I loved these movies. I absolutely loved all these movies. Were they the best movies ever? No, they weren't. Because I feel like if you go back and even try to watch the majority of these, 95% of them are going to be the cringiest shit you've ever seen. And just about that same percentage of them have basically about the same amount of plots, especially all their sports movies. All their movies about, motocross, skating, basketball, they're basically the same plot. You got the underdog team who doesn't have enough equipment or is just bad and loses all the time. And then they miraculously win the championship. So it's not like this is a new thing that Disney Channel is, not necessarily the most creative people in the world. They've never really been the most creative people in the world. Most of their original movies were just, carbon copies of the same things that they always release. Because Disney Channel loves a good underdog story or a fish out of water story where they put somebody in an uncomfortable place and they make a lot of friends, or they get bullied and then they make a lot of friends. It's basically been the same shit this entire time. They're just your typical run-of-the-mill after-school movies that you don't really think too much about after you watch them. Do most people care that Disney Channel isn't the most, creative and making these, really intricate movies that, have a deeper meaning? No. Because that's not what people go to Disney Channel for. They go to Disney Channel for simple little movies to either laugh or be sad or be happy about. No one goes to Disney Channel expecting the most creative shit. Is this really a bad thing for Disney Channel? No, because they'll make money beside themselves. But is it good for us? No, and it never really has been. Which is why I feel like Disney Channel fell off a cliff like it did in the first place. Because when all of your movies and TV shows can basically be summed up in like one paragraph, eventually you're going to get to a point where nobody really cares anymore, and they'll go to other places to find actual stories that have a deeper meaning than just, oh, the nerd beats up the bully finally. Yay. Now, while it's certainly not news to anybody and it's nothing new to y'all or me, Disney Channel is dead. And when I say dead, I mean there is no, oh, maybe they can make a comeback. No, they're dead. Like, they're not coming back. They have no chance of coming back. And I don't even really think Disney, the actual company, really even gives a fuck about Disney Channel at this point. They haven't really given a fuck about them for the past like 5 years or so. Probably more than 5, but you get my point. Because Disney has completely moved on from making cartoon shows and really just caring about a TV channel in general. And they're really focusing on their movies and Disney Plus as a whole. And unlike with Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, they still have a 1% chance of coming back, like maybe like 0.0% chance of coming back. It's a small, slim chance that they may come back because that's their whole brand. Their whole brand isn't making movies like Disney is. Because Disney has just been focusing on making movies, mainly Marvel movies, for the past decade. And they've made way more money doing that than they ever could have with Disney Channel. They would have to have a complete renaissance for that to even be a reality. Is it kind of sad that Disney just gave up on Disney Channel? Yeah, it is. But it was gonna happen eventually, especially with cable not being as popular as it was 5-10 years ago. But all in all, Disney Channel had a good run while it lasted. And if y'all have anything that y'all want me to talk about, let me know in the comments. I appreciate y'all for watching.